I never thought retirement would bring me face to face with someone like Margaret Chen after 40 years practicing property law. I'd moved to a quiet ranch outside Austin to raise horses and enjoy my golden years. My name is Eleanor Hayes, and at 62, I thought my courtroom days were behind me. Margaret was the new HOA president. She was in her late 50s, always dressed like she was heading to a board meeting, and she had very strong opinions about how everyone should live their lives one morning. She showed up at my gate with a clipboard. "Your fence is 3 inches over the property line, Eleanor. The HOA requires you to move it immediately." I looked at the fence I'd built 20 years ago. Long before any HOA existed in this area, Margaret, this ranch was here before the HOA. I have the original survey documents. She smiled, that tight smile people use when they think they're smarter than you. "I don't care about your old papers. Move the fence or face legal action." I tried reasoning with her for weeks. I showed her my deeds, my surveys, even the historical records from the county. She wouldn't listen. She just kept sending certified letters threatening to sue. Then one day, the lawsuit arrived. Margaret was suing me for $50,000. Claiming my fence damaged HOA property values and caused her emotional distress. She demanded I remove the fence and pay her compensation. My neighbor Robert, a sweet 70-year-old rancher, stopped by that evening. "Eleanor, she's doing this to everyone. She sued the Johnsons for their barn color. She fined the Martins for having too many chickens. Someone needs to stand up to her." I looked at that lawsuit and remembered why I'd become a lawyer in the first place. Not everyone fights fair, but everyone deserves justice. I never told Margaret about my background. She assumed I was just an old woman who'd be easy to intimidate. Court day arrived. Margaret strutted in wearing a designer suit, with her attorney carrying a fancy leather briefcase. They looked confident, almost amused. I sat at my table in a simple blazer, my old brown briefcase beside me. The same briefcase I'd carried into 1,000 courtrooms. When the judge called the case, Margaret's attorney stood up and began his presentation. He talked about property values and community standards and HOA authority. Then it was my turn. I opened my briefcase and pulled out documents. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence the original property survey from 2003, showing my fence is entirely on my land. I also have the county records showing this HOA wasn't established until 2018. 15 years after my fence was built, Margaret's smile started to fade. Furthermore, Your Honor, the HOA covenants explicitly state they don't apply to properties established before 2015. My ranch has been here since 1998, I continued, calmly presenting document after document. Property records, water rights, easements, historical surveys. 40 years of experience flowed out of me like muscle memory. Margaret's attorney started shuffling papers. Looking confused, finally I addressed the emotional distress claim, Your Honor. The plaintiff claims my fence caused her distress. However, I have testimony from 12 neighbors stating the plaintiff has filed frivolous complaints against most of them. This appears to be a pattern of harassment, not legitimate distress. The judge looked at Margaret over his glasses. Ms. Chen, did you verify any of these property claims before filing this lawsuit? Margaret stood up, flustered well. I assumed that as HOA president, I had the authority. The judge wasn't smiling anymore. Ms. Chen, assumption isn't evidence. This case is dismissed. Furthermore, I'm awarding court costs to the defendant. You wasted everyone's time with a frivolous lawsuit as we left the courtroom. Margaret stopped me in the hallway. Who are you? I smiled gently. I'm Eleanor Hayes. I spent 40 years as a property attorney before I retired. You could have just asked me about the fence, Margaret. I would have explained everything. Her face went pale. I moved to this ranch for peace, not to fight. But when you pushed, I pushed back the only way I knew how. With the truth and the law, Robert was waiting outside. When he saw my face, he started laughing. You didn't tell her. Didn't seem relevant at the time. Margaret resigned as HOA president the following month. The new president reached out to me asking if I'd review their covenants to make sure they were legally sound. I agreed on one condition. No more frivolous lawsuits against my neighbors. Sometimes life gives you a second act. Mine just happened to involve a briefcase, a stubborn woman, and the reminder that justice doesn't retire. Even at 62, I learned something important. You don't need to announce your credentials to have value. Your actions, your integrity, your willingness to stand up for what's right, those speak louder than any title. Margaret and I see each other at community meetings now. She's polite, even respectful. I think she learned something too. Never underestimate the quiet ones. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of life's unexpected lessons. Drop a comment below and tell me about a time you stood up for yourself or someone else. I'd love to hear your story.